to think about that. So, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up, because we've heard this, and so comparing one against the other as a reflection of priority would not be accurate. But again, it's on the table. We don't have anything to announce at this time, and you know, the president will speak more on what it is, how he wants to move
on those
forward.
differences. Is it a bigger pot of money it unlocks? I know that was one of the concerns the administration had about the public health emergency. And are there any other specifics you can share about how you could use a climate declaration?
So I don't have any specifics or anything to move further on what I just stated. But you're right. When Jen Klein was here just almost 2 weeks ago, she talked about how in the pot of money for the abortion pieces, there was just tens of thousands of dollars there. So there was some feeling that we didn't know exactly how that would work. But she did state that it would be still on the table and that we were still thinking through it. But as far as what's on the climate side, I just don't have more information to share.
Are there any downsides to declaring a climate national emergency?
Right now, like I said, it's not on the table for this week. We're still considering it. I don't have the upside or the downsides of it. As you can imagine, and I have said, this is an important priority when it comes to getting to clean energy, when it comes to dealing with climate crisis, when it comes to taking action. So the president is going to continue to make sure he's doing everything that he can to deal with the threats of climate change. I just don't have specifics on the pros and the cons, but it is still on the table.
When you talk about actions for tomorrow, should we assume that he'll be signing executive actions to announce tomorrow?
Jeff, I just don't want to get ahead of the president. Again, he's going to make some announcement.
Call on this later to explain what he's doing.
There might be. I just don't have one to announce. We normally do, to your point. We usually have background calls when we're ready, and we usually invite all of you. I just don't have one to announce. There might be in the next couple of hours. I just don't have anything to share at this moment.
Involved in these meetings today, or what exactly has he been doing yesterday and today?
So he's been in meetings. I was scheduled to meet with him today in the Oval Office. So he's been meeting with his senior staff. He's been meeting with a staff. I think some of you may have seen him when the First Lady of Ukraine was visiting with our First Lady. I believe you saw him very briefly. So he's just been very busy dealing with the issues of the American people and meeting with his staff and senior staff the last 2 days.
Okay. And just a quick one on climate emergency and public health emergency. How concerned is the White House it may land up sort of angering female voters if it does sort of go ahead and announce a climate emergency ahead of a public health emergency, considering you haven't seen such an announcement after Roe? Is that why maybe the timing has been moved, or?
No, I wouldn't look into. I wouldn't make that into an issue. Both of those things are still on the table. We just haven't announced them or made a decision yet. You know, I just laid out what the difference is between when you look at a public health emergency on the abortion side, when you look at a public health emergency more so on the abortion side, but the difference between the two, we just don't. They're both on the table. We just haven't made an announcement on that yet.
Did say that he's asked his administration to see if he has the authority to declare a public health emergency. Is there sort of any update into that work to see if he has the authority ultimately to declare something like that?
Again, we're looking at all options. Everything's on the table. We just haven't made a decision on this yet.
Thanks, Karine. The mayors of New York City and D.C. are calling for more federal resources to assist with asylum seekers who are being bused to those cities from Texas and Arizona. They've had thousands of people arriving over the past couple of weeks. Mayor Bowser here in D.C. said that these people are being tricked. What federal resources is the White House preparing, if any, to deliver to these cities and other cities that are now dealing with an increase of asylum seekers?
So I can tell you, Karen, that we have been in touch with both of their administrations, both of their offices, and we're going to continue to look into their requests. I don't have further than that to share, but we have been in touch with Mayor Bowser's office, and we have been in touch with Mayor Adams' office.
Could be resources that can be given.
Right now, I can tell you that FEMA is the lead agency on this, and so I would point you to them on on any more information or details that they can provide.
And then on the other end of it, some advocates say that the governors of these states are using these migrants as pawns. Has the White House reached out to those governors and said, don't send these people to these cities on the East Coast?
So as you know, we're in constant communication and contact with governors just across the country. I don't have anything specific to that, that the specific on migrants being shipped to other states.
Is there a message from the White House about
I think
what
it's,
they should
I
be doing
think
or not doing?
we have, this has come up before, I believe, a couple of months ago, and I think we believe it's shameful that some governors are using migrants as a political tool, as a political play, when we should be making sure that we're doing everything that we can to help folks who are coming into this process in a legal way, and making sure that we do this in a safe way and respectful way. And I think it's shameful that that is happening.
Thanks, Karine. The Secret Service now says that they are unable to retrieve any more emails from agents from January 5th and 6th of last year. Does the president believe that it's acceptable for a law enforcement agency, a federal law enforcement agency, to simply lose such critical communications that are important to an investigation?
So I appreciate the question. This is not something that I can speak about from here. This is a question that has to go to any information or details has to go to the U.S. Secret Service. I just can't speak from here because it is a active investigation.
I understand, but this is something the Secret Service is saying publicly, that they just, they didn't back up their emails and texts properly, apparently. And I'm just wondering, this is the agency that is tasked with protecting the President of the United States. Is he concerned about some gaps in the mission there?
I understand the question and I hear the question, but we just can't, I can't respond to it from here, from the podium.
Okay.
It's an active investigation.
And then has the President been, I know you mentioned Marburg's disease at the top, has the President been briefed on the situation with Marburg's disease? And is the White House preparing any additional action?
Well, we're ready. We have not gotten, as I stated, any ask for assistance, and we are ready to assist when asked. I would have to check in with the team to see if the president's been briefed about this particular issue.
Thanks.
Can you say what role ongoing reconciliation talks played in the climate decision? For instance, is the climate emergency off the table because you're worried it will upend the apple cart in the Senate with Senator Manchin or others by going sort of being too fast? Can you talk about what role the tensions are between what to do now on climate and what you're still hoping to get out of Congress?
So when it comes to what's happening on the Senate with reconciliation, I will not negotiate in public or speak to any private conversation. I can tell you that our teams are in regular contact with Senator Manchin and other members in the Senate and in Congress, just as we do on a constant way, in a constant basis. I will say that, as I mentioned, I wouldn't expect an announcement this week on the emergency, on the climate change emergency, but what I will say is that it is still on the table. We have not made a decision yet. Again, this is what we're seeing, this action that we're going to hear about from the president tomorrow. This is part of multiple actions that the president has already taken from the moment that he walked into office. This is urgent to him. He called the climate crisis one of the 4 major crises that he was dealing with once walking into the administration. Again, we're talking about national security. We're talking about lowering energy costs. We're talking about threats to our economy. All of these things are critical. All of these things